Hey all, so in today's video we'll be making a stepper component, something that you can for example use in a complex web form, and we'll be making a desktop version, a mobile version, and we'll also be making a small progress component which we'll be using for the mobile version. So to get started, you're going to create a new Figma file, and I actually did a little bit of prep work. I just picked a few colors that I'm going to be working with. So I named them here in the layer panel, but I did not create styles yet. And there's actually a neat plugin that I discovered the other day called Styler. So this way, especially if you have a lot of colors that you want to generate, you can quickly turn them into styles and they will match the name that you gave to the layer. So the first component that we're going to create is the desktop version, and we'll start by creating just one single step component itself. So to do so, we'll begin by creating a text layer, and let's say step title or step number. And we actually always would want to have the step uppercase. So we're going to go into this panel here and just set it to uppercase. From here, we're going to give it a dark gray color, and we'll also make it semi-bold, and we'll slightly increase the font size. Our second text layer is going to be a step title. So you see currently it preserved the uppercase setting, but we actually don't want this here. We'll also update the text to dark gray, and we'll set the font weight to regular. And now we can combine these two text layers into auto layout, and maybe we'll just have 16 pixel spacing, 8 pixel. And then we're going to give it a little bit of padding at the top, but not at the bottom. So let's say 16. And we'll give it a stroke, just the top. I'll set it to 4 and give it a light gray. So I'm actually going to increase the top padding to 24. We can also give it a fixed width for now, let's say 240, and now we can rename it, call it step-desktop, and turn it into a component. So now we're going to create a couple variants for the step component. Essentially, we can have a step that's incomplete, kind of like this one here. Then we can have the one that's complete, and we can have the one that's active. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go to this properties, and we're going to create a new variant. And let's name our property status. And this one is going to be incomplete. This one's going to be active or current. And for our current ones, we want both the line and the text to be navy. So we'll just replace these two colors. And then we're going to have one more step, and this one is going to be complete. And for the complete one, we just want the top stroke to be navy, but we want to keep the text dark gray. So now that we have our individual step component, we can create a full desktop stepper version. So what we're going to do, we're just going to combine a few of this together. And let's keep spacing to 16, and we'll give this frame a fix and we'll set the two steps that we have here to fill the container. So that would be our first variant for the desktop stepper. And we can also replace these ones with step 1 and step 2. And we can turn this into a component. So now we're going to create a couple more variants for the desktop stepper with a different number of steps. So this is where it's kind of a little bit of a tricky question for the design system person, because you never really know how many variants you need. Fortunately, with something like the stepper, we can actually use this as a way to set some boundaries. So for example, you wouldn't really want to create a form that has 10 steps in it, especially if each step has like a few input fields or like a few things to fill out inside of it. So what you can do, you can create variants that maybe have 5 steps maximum, and this way you're kind of guiding the designer and just letting them know, yeah, ideally we don't want to design anything that's super complicated, and if you feel like you need more steps than that, then maybe we should rethink the flow a little bit. So to create the variants, again, we're going to create the property, and let's call the property just number of steps. And this one is going to be 2. Then this one is going to be 3. And we're just going to copy paste. This one's going to be 4. And this one is 5. And so now you have your 4 variants here. So now we can test out our stepper, and so you can modify the number of steps, but then if you want to change the step variant itself, you kind of have to click into it. So let's see, maybe we can figure something out to make it a little easier. And one thing we can actually use is the nested instance properties. But before we do that, what we're going to do is rename the steps inside the variants to have their own unique names, like step 1, step 2. It will then make it easier to work with the nested instances. And maybe that's something that we should have done before creating all the variants. So we'll have to do a little bit of work now, but we only have 4 variants, so that's okay. So we selected the 2 variants, and for the first one we're going to keep the current name, and then we'll add a number. So now, as you can see, all of these ones changed from step desktop to 1 or 2. And then we'll repeat the same process for the rest of the variants. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to go to the properties, and we'll select nested instances, and then we'll select all of these ones. So now when we work with the variant, first we can change the number of steps, but then we can also change the status for each individual step. So So we could set this one to complete, and then the second one to the current. And then if you were to go ahead and change back the number of steps, your changes will persist. So that's about it for the desktop version. As you can see, if you stretch out this component, make it bigger or smaller, the number of steps the steps will just fill the available space. Maybe one improvement that we could make is give this some horizontal padding, just so that if somebody is working with a component, they know it's always has to be like 24 pixels from the edge of the screen. But that's just a small improvement. The next component that we'll be working on is going to be the simple progress component, which will then be using to make a mobile version of our stepper. So for the progress component, we're going to begin by creating a tiny rectangle. So it's going to be 4 pixels high. We'll give it a fixed 200 pixel width. This will make it easier to create all the variants. And we'll have another rectangle, which is going to be our filled track. And this one we'll make navy, this one light gray. And then first we'll select both and can give them a rounded radius, rounded corners, and then we'll call this one filled track, and this one just track, and then we'll turn it into a component. And for our first one, we're just going to do 10%, which is going to be 20. Now we can start making our variants, and we could just do 10. And one thing to note, this progress component, it's not just something that you can use for the stepper. You can use it on its own or combined with different components as well. So it's good to have some flexibility. So we're going to call this property progress, and then we'll make 10 of this. Actually, I need 2 more. And from here, we're going to select all of these ones, and we'll rename it to progress, and then let's do number and percent. So now, as you can see, we got all of our percentages here. And the last thing that we'll need to do is just update the tracks. And for this last one, we can delete the just the regular track, and we're also going to make one more variant that's just 0. So a couple things that we can do here is first just confirm that the order looks fine. So here, I don't know what happened, I have 100 all the way at the top, so I'm just going to move this to the bottom and reorder this ones, so now it looks nice and neat. And another thing is, if you were to search for this component, let's say progress, this is what it comes out as, just a straight line, and it's not really descriptive of what this component is. So what we can do, we can reorder, and let's say take this one with the 40% progress and just shift it to the top. So now if we search for it, it's going to come up with this 40% variant here, and it's just easier to tell like what this component actually is. The last thing we're going to do is test it out. So now you see if I try to resize it, nothing really happens. So what we can do from here is we'll select just a regular track, and we'll set it to scale. And then we'll select our fill track, and we'll set it to scale as well. So now I can resize this component, and it will be responsive. So now we can return to our stepper component and make the mobile version. So first what we're going to do, we're going to grab our progress. And maybe for this one we don't want to include the step title, just to not take too much space on a small screen, but we still want to have the step number and the total number of steps. So we're going to have just one text layer, and we'll have step, and just keep the placeholder here, and let's keep this regular, and give it dark gray, and then we'll combine this two in auto layout, and maybe we'll give it a fixed width of 375, and have this one fill the container. And once again we'll have the horizontal padding, but this time we'll do 16. And now we can call this one stepper mobile and make it into a component. And actually this one, since it's always sort of on the active step, we'll keep the text as navy. So now we can test out our mobile stepper, and currently we don't have any properties, but here also we can use the nested instance properties to control the amount of progress that we have. So what we're going to do is go back to the main component, and we'll go to properties, select nested instance, and we just have the progress. So when we return to the instance itself, we can control how much progress we want to have. So that's about it for the stepper component. I will link this Figma file in the description, as well as any like plugins that I mentioned in this video or any other links. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there are any other tutorials that you would like to see. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope this was useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.